There are several cards that were released at the early stages of Magic Arena that could have had a better design, lore-wise speaking. One of my favorite examples is Josu Vess, Lich Knight from Dominaria, the brother of Liliana. He commands an army of zombies. Zombies are mindless creatures who need the lead of a strong will to be commanded. The card creates zombie knights who follow their leader. But what happens when they lose their leader? They don't know how to behave. There's no mind that controls them. And thus, they are weaker. I would have preferred that Josu Vess created 1/1 zombie knight creatures with menace, but also gave +1/+1 to other zombies you control. Or even better, the zombie knight tokens are 1/1 with no abilities. Josu Vess would give +1/+1 to other zombies you control, and would give the ability of menace to each zombie token you control. It would give a better fit for Josu Vess lore-wise. It would have the same board impact by itself, but it would synergize much better with other zombies. Party in Adventures of the Forgotten Realms. Party was a mechanic that was introduced in Zendikar Rising. It was a mechanic that was really fun to play with, both in draft and constructed, but it had a mediocre impact. But Adventures of the Forgotten Realms was coming. Many D&D players, including myself, were expecting new interactions with the party mechanic in an expansion that clearly shouted party all over the place. But it never showed up. Instead, it was more focused in rolling d20s than in the lore and teamwork that it's unique to D&D games. A total failure. Our only hope is that they do what they had to do in the Lord of the Rings expansion, but then it will not coexist with Zendikar Rising. So then again, it will be a cool but weak mechanic. Other new mechanics that are cool, but they're weak. They could have exploited these mechanics a little bit more, so they would be a little bit more powerful, just enough to get a good diversity in the metagame. Zendikar Rising, gaining life for the first time each turn. Attendant Healer and Cleric of the Life's Bond. From Zendikar Rising, auto-equip as a keyword. When this equipment enters the battlefield, attach it to target creature you control. Or even more, you could add something more. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may attach this equipment to it. So it's an improvement. From Kaldheim, Axgard Cavalry could have: this creature has haste as long as you control another dwarf. In Strixhaven, the mastery spells could have a cleave-like keyword ability, like the one that it's in Innistrad Crimson Vow, Cleave. In Adventures of the Forgotten Realms, they used italic keywords, you could say, to explain the abilities. But they could also do the same to explain old abilities that have been used before with the mechanics that are using now. For instance, Consider spell could just read Surveil 1, draw 1 card. In Adventures of the Forgotten Realms, Nadar, the Dragon Paladin, should give you +1/+1 to all creatures you control for each dungeon with different name that you have completed. Well, also it should give it to himself, since he's the one who completed the dungeon. So he completes the dungeon, but he doesn't get experience points. In Innistrad Midnight Hunt, the adversary cycle should have a keyword for their ability, kind of like multi-kicker. So they could reuse that keyword in future sets and save some text space in the text box. Daybound and Nightbound for the old werewolves. I hate alchemy. I simply hate it. Please view the link, the part where I complain about alchemy. But it could have been the perfect playground to try errated cards. Adding some errata to the cards. This is an idea of one of my friends called Diego. Just imagine adding the werewolves from Innistrad, Dark Ascension, Shadows over Innistrad, and Eldritch Moon to the set with the Daybound and Nightbound mechanic. It would have been the perfect playground to test if those old werewolves should have been errated. Let's compare two legendary creatures in 2 consecutive sets. First of all, Henrika Domnathi and Adeline. First, shout out to Wizards of the Coast. Why do you keep making non-competitive vampires? They are not competitive enough as a tribe. Now, let's talk about Henrika Domnathi. First of all, it's a 4-mana legendary creature that doesn't pass the dreaded lightning bolt test. And when it enters the battlefield, it doesn't have as much impact as Adeline would, with 1 less mana. For 4 mana, if they don't kill it before combat with a lightning bolt, before it transforms and survives that lightning bolt, you would only get 1 Innocent Blood trigger or 1 Phyrexian Arena trigger. It's not that big impact for me. Let's talk about the night side. It's just Vampire Nighthawk with 1 more power, 1 more toughness, that could possibly give a small fire breathing boost to a couple of creatures, including herself. That's a total of 7 mana to do something. So 4 mana to cast her, and then transform her, and then 3 mana to activate the ability. It's not a big impact for a legendary creature, even less for a mythic card. So now let's talk about Adeline. She passes the lightning bolt test. She has an ability that it's useful when it enters the battlefield, because it creates a token even if she's not attacking. If you attack with another creature, each time you attack you create a token, so it buffs herself permanently, and you don't require any mana to activate those abilities. And furthermore, her ability allows her to attack and block all the time while growing up. I think Adeline is clearly better than Henrika. How do we improve Henrika then? Leave it at 4 mana, but change her into a 1/4 so she can pass the lightning bolt test. The Phyrexian Arena ability, it's okay. Let's switch the Innocent Blood ability to Diabolic Edict ability. So each opponent sacrifices a creature. When it's transformed, the same, 3/4 flying lifelink death touch, but with the cost of the ability only being 2 black, not 3 mana, 2 mana, 2 black mana. Put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control that has flying, death touch, and or lifelink. That way it represents the flavor text that it says that she gets powered permanently via drinking demon blood. Now that's a legendary creature. No new Mardu. Edgar Markov? Wizards of the Coast, you had one job. You have created a new Mardu, black, white, red, vampire for EDH, for Commander. Since you have created so many new black, white and red vampires, it would have been the perfect timing. It would increase the possibilities of Commander games. It doesn't matter if you have created another Commander deck with white also in a color, so the white-blue spirit deck, and then a Mardu deck for Commander. It would have been perfect. It doesn't matter if you repeat a color in the Commander decks. Why so much hype with Innistrad Werewolves and Innistrad Vampires if those beloved tribe creatures did not get a proper power-up? Wizards of the Coast changed the announced name of Innistrad Werewolves to Innistrad Midnight Hunt. Players who loved the old werewolves expected this set to improve the whole werewolf tribe, but actually it only improved the Aldrun's Epiphany deck. Even in draft, the most powerful color was black, with the zombies and a lot of removal. So no werewolves made it to the top tier of cards in Innistrad Werewolves. And the same happened in Innistrad Vampires for the Vampire tribe. Constructed did not change at all. And in draft, the most powerful color was green. And the only vampire that made it to the competitive scene was Edgar, in a deck filled with board wipes and planeswalkers, just because when he dies, he comes back, so he withstands board wipes. The only reason. Why do vampires keep going on different ways, while other tribes have such wonderful synergies with old cards each time they are printed? Elves usually give mana or ramp. Goblins have haste and they lower the casting cost. Soldiers pump each other and a lot, and they create tokens and they have vigilance. Zombies make players lose life, and they generate tokens also and sacrifice creatures, and merfolks have evasion and counterspells and a lot of lords that they pump each other. But vampires, they are not synergic with other vampires that are printed in other sets. In the original Zendikar we had multi-kicker for vampires. In Innistrad they get +1/+1 counters if they deal damage to an opponent. In Shadows over Innistrad they had the madness mechanic. On Ixalan there were tokens and lifelink, and in Innistrad Vampires there are blood tokens. Where's the synergy? It is the tribe with the least love from Wizards of the Coast through the years. It does not feel like a coherent tribe. It disputes the same spot as zombies do for the small to medium-sized creature in black, since the big creatures in black are demons, so they should have their own spotlight. I truly believe that they could become an amazing coherent tribe like other color counterparts there are. I have my ideas, but it's not the matter at hand. I did not get the chance to become a magic card designer because I live in Europe. Just maybe, in the future, we will be able to see the vampires as the clever, elegant, powerful creatures of the night they are.